Hey guys, what's up? Today we're going to be talking about UFC 313. I'm going to be running through my picks and predictions for the card. I'm super excited about this one. Super sick card. You know, we got Alex Pereira, we got Justin Gaethje, Rafael Fiziev, Jalen Turner, Mauricio Ruffy, Josh Van. This is going to be a banger. Tons of sick fights. And I also just kind of changed up my presentation style. You know, I made the slides a little bit cleaner. I actually took notes on each fighter, my predictions. So it should be a good one. And without further ado, let's get into the first fight of the night. All right, so fight number one, we got Ozzy Diaz versus Jordan Santos. So let's start off with Ozzy Diaz. He's a pretty sloppy striker. He does not have the best chin. He looked pretty bad against Zhang Minyang at 205. This fight's at 185, so he is going to be moving down a weight class. But however, although this guy hasn't looked the best in his UFC level competition, he has only lost to the best of the best, or not the best of the best, but like pretty solid fighters. You know, Zhang Minyang and Joe Pyfer are not too bad people to lose to. So yeah, although he hasn't looked great, it is against good levels of competition. On the other side, we got Jordan Santos. This guy's one of my friends and I's like favorite fighter, just because he's so beautiful. You know, he looks a little bit like a middleweight Shamil Gaziev type fighter. You know, he's not in the best shape, but he's pretty decent. He showed out really well against Will Curry in Dana White's Contender Series. Kind of just jabbed the shit out of him, won it easy 30-27. He's a pretty clean striker. He does not have the best power or speed, but he's got good fundamentals. Um, yeah, he is a little bit slow though, I will say. But this guy's got that dog in him. You know, he actually lived in a dog kennel for some years at the gym just so he could get that like premier training experience. I'm not kidding. That actually is a fun fact about Jordan Santos. And yeah, I'm gonna be picking my boy. You know, he's one of my favorite fighters. Like dead ass. I love this guy. He's he's just great. You know, and I think he's gonna win by late TKO. I think he's just gonna be too clean on the feet for Diaz, and I think he's just gonna find Diaz's pretty weak chin. It might take a little bit because he is a little bit slow. He starts a little bit slow, but I just think he's gonna be too clean on the feet for Diaz, and I don't think Diaz is gonna be able to take him down. Because I think Curry's probably a better wrestler than Diaz is, and this guy was stuffing all of Curry's takedowns, and Curry couldn't do anything to Jordan. So I think it's going to be more of the same on this one. And I think at minus 180, you're getting Jordan at pretty good odds. So yeah, as much of like a fan as I am of Jordan Santos, this is also a bit of a fade on Ozzy Diaz. I just really don't think Ozzy Diaz is that good at all. I don't think he has any business being in the UFC, to be honest. So yeah, Jordan Santos is my pick for this one. All right, fight number two. We got Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. So I am going to be picking John Castaneda here. I will say I was a little bit surprised by the odds. I did think he was going to be a bit of an underdog, so I would say avoid betting on this guy. But yeah, I am going to be picking him. So let's get into the details on each fighter. So Chris Gutierrez is a pretty good striker. He does not have the best takedown defense, as we saw in his fight against Kwang Lee. He got taken down for a round. And although he did win that fight, he did not look that good. Both these guys are 33, but I think Gutierrez is a bit older in fight years. I think he's taken a lot of damage in his career, and it seems to me that he's kind of slowing down, especially because like he used to be a bit of a big finisher, and he hasn't finished anyone since old Frankie Edgar. So yeah, I don't think he's in his prime anymore. And then on the other hand, we got John Castaneda, who's kind of mid all around, to be honest, but he's got decent striking, and he is capable of getting takedowns, as we saw in his fight against Kung Hyo Kong. Um, as I said, he's also 33, but he just kind of feels younger than Chris Gutierrez does at this point. And I kind of just got like a premonition that he's gonna win. I just got like that feeling that John Castaneda is gonna win this fight. And my prediction for this fight is that I think Castaneda should be able to use the threat of a takedown to win both on the ground and kind of on the feet, kind of getting Gutierrez a little bit like hesitant on his shots. I think he's going to win by 29-28 decision. I think he's going to win the first two rounds, and then Gutierrez is just going to kind of pick him apart. I do want to mention that This one will be at 145. Castaneda did cut weight and make 135 last week, but his fight got scrapped because the other guy missed weight and got sick. So the weight cut is not an issue, and I think this might be in Castaneda's favor actually, just because he's been training, he's been in camp. Gutierrez lost his opponent like 2 weeks ago, so he's kind of been out of training as far as I know. So yeah, John Castaneda is my pick here. All right, fight number 3, we got Myron Santos versus Francis Marshall. So I got Myron Santos here, as it says on the slide. He's pretty big at 145. I know on Tough, like he kind of struggled to make weight in one of the episodes. He's got really clean striking. He's got pretty good power, as we saw in the Khan Ofli fight. He just knocked him cold. Weirdly enough, he did not get a performance bonus. High key still bothers me because that was a sick knockout. Um, and he's evolved a lot since he lost to Dan Argueta. This guy's got one loss in his career, and it was to Dan Argueta, who is not the best fighter. But back then, he was pretty good, pretty dangerous. So it's not the best loss. And now he's training at Extreme Couture. So he's probably evolving in his game a lot. The one kind of question mark in Myron Santos' game is his takedown defense. We don't really know how good it is. And that's pretty important here because Francis Marshall is a wrestler. Um, he's a pretty good wrestler. He also does have decent striking, but he's not like amazing at either of them, to be honest. Like his only 2 wins in the UFC are to Marcelo Rojo and to Dennis Bazooka, who are like 2 of the worst guys in the division. Marcelo Rojo isn't in the UFC anymore, and Bazooka was just suspended actually for like beating someone up. Um, Either way though, I think that Myron Santos is gonna take this fight. I just think he's gonna be too strong to get out wrestled, and I think he has really crisp hands, and I think he's gonna be able to win on the feet. I expect him to pick Marshall apart, and then find like a late second round TKO on the fence, just kind of once Marshall's like a little bit um like demotivated, I guess would be the best word because he's not able to take Santos down. So I think that Myron Santos is going to win this fight. All right, now we got Alex Morono versus Carlos Leal. Alex Morono is a pretty sloppy striker. He's kind of chinny at this point, and he's getting a little old to be in this division and competing with the best of the best. He did just lose to Nico Price, which is a really bad look in my opinion because Nico Price kind of sucks. And he hasn't looked good since the first round of the Santiago Ponzinibbio fight, which was I think 2 or 3 years ago. Like he has won since then, but he hasn't looked good since then at all. Um, and then on the other hand, we got Carlos Leal, who's like an absolute beast. Like this guy's fucking crazy. He arguably beat Renat. I scored that 30-27, maybe 29-28. The final round was like a little sketchy. But this guy beat like a pretty much ranked fighter on short notice in his debut. And he's got nasty hands, really good power, amazing takedown defense, which is probably Morono's only route of winning. And yeah, as I said, he beat fucking Renat, bro. So yeah, I think Leal's gonna win this fight pretty easily. However, I do think it comes down to an extent to fight IQ. If this guy's stupid, he might get caught in a guillotine choke by Alex Morono, but I just don't see that happening here. I just think he's gonna knock Morono clean out, get a pretty easy win. However, I do think that the odds are a little bit wide. Minus 775 for a fighter who has never won in the UFC seems a little bit extreme for me. But as I said, this guy's a fucking beast, man. And as you'll see, he is on my best bets, but I did get him at a inside the distance, which is minus 150. We'll get back to that later, though. On to fight 5. All right, so for fight 5, we got Bruno Ferreira versus Armin Petrosian. So Bruno Ferreira is a very powerful striker with decent wrestling. He's kind of low output early on in the fight. He kind of waits till he can get that knockout. He also does have subpar takedown defense. He got get taken down by Abus Magomedov. But Abus is a pretty decent fighter, and he's got that Dagestani wrestling, so I wouldn't kind of see that as too much of a concern in this fight against, especially like a primary kickboxer like Armin Petrosian. And then also when Ferreira does get taken down, his cardio does kind of tend to wane. But again, I think in a striking match, I don't see that being as much of a concern here. On the other side, we got Armin Petrosian. He's kind of a low volume kickboxer. He's got really sick kicks, but his chin isn't the best, as we saw in his Shara Magomedov fight. And his record is 8-4, which is pretty bad. Like, that's not very good. I just don't think he's that good of a fighter, especially because like he doesn't really have any finishing upside. Most of his wins are like split or unanimous decisions. So I think this is pretty clear cut. I see Bruno Ferraro winning as long as he doesn't gas. I think he should be able to find Petrosian's chin at some point in the fight, just because he's a far more dangerous fighter, and I don't think he's like got too much to worry about coming back at him. So yeah, I got Bruno Ferraro here. All right, fight number 6. I'm super excited for this fight. This one's just gonna be sick. I got Josh Van here. He's kind of like a mini Max Holloway without the crazy chin. Maybe a little bit like a mini Piotr Jan as well. Just he's got nasty hands, really good takedown defense. He does kind of start slow, a little bit like Piotr Jan. He tends to drop the first round of most fights that he's in. But he's got such good striking that he's easily able to like close that gap that he kind of sets for himself. On the other side, we got Ray Saruya, who's a really good wrestler, amazing body locks, especially early on in the fight. However, he does not have the best cardio, as we saw against Carlos Hernandez. He gassed out in the last round and dropped around to Carlos Hernandez, which is a pretty bad look because Carlos Hernandez is like 10-4 and he's kind of shit. In that vein, I do think that Van will get taken down and lose the first round. But I think he's most likely going to win rounds 2 and 3 just because of Ray Saruya's cardio. And yeah, I do think there's a slight possibility of this fight being a draw. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. I could see Ray winning the first 2 rounds and then getting 10-8'd in the third round. Just because his cardio is not very good, as I mentioned like a million times, and Van just really pours it on as the fight tends to like kind of wane down. But yeah, I do see Van winning this. I think the most likely outcome is that he wins by decision or late TKO, and I'm pretty confident in him winning. I think that you're getting him at a pretty good payout right now at -185. All right, fight number 7, we got Curtis Blades versus Rizvan Kuniev. Curtis Blades is a very good boxer. He's got pretty decent wrestling too, but he never really uses it, which is a little bit concerning in my opinion. Just because like his wrestling is probably the best part of his game, but he just never shoots takedowns. He's very like confident in his hands. And then weirdly enough, he does not have the best takedown defense or the best chin. But for the most part, he only loses to like the best of the best. So it's probably not too much of a concern here. And then on the other side, we got this beautiful beast right here, Rizvan Kuniev. 30% body fat. Concerning that this man is a professional fighter, but I digress. He popped for roids, which is just fucking mind-blowing to me that this guy popped for roids and like someone like Carlos Leal didn't. Just because this guy's so fucking flabby. He's a certified blob, certified clinch merchant. I have that in my notes. But I do think this guy's got aura, bro. Like, I know that sounds like so stupid to say, but I think this guy has so much aura coming into the UFC, looking like that, fighting a 5th ranked guy. So I'm just like a little bit concerned, man. Just like, logic says that Curtis Blades should win, but I just have a feeling, man. I just got another premonition that Rizvan's going to take it. But ultimately, I am going to be going with Curtis Blades. I just think that his boxing is too clean. He does have that wrestling in his back pocket. And logic tells me that he should get an early TKO, but just shit, bro. Rizvan, man. I just got a feeling. I just got a premonition. So yeah, come back to this if Rizvan does win. All right, for our first fight on the main card, we got another certified banger. We got Bobby, a.k.a. King Green, versus Mauricio Ruffy. This is pretty straightforward. I think Mauricio Ruffy is going to take this pretty easily. Bobby Green is a pretty good boxer. He does have that underrated jiu-jitsu in his back pocket, but he kind of tends to just keep it on the feet. However, this guy is on the older side. His chin has gotten pretty weak in the past years. You know, Jim Miller was getting him stumbled every time he touched him. Paddy Pimblett rocked this guy. And it kind of seems to me that he's going through like a little bit of a midlife crisis, you know, with the name change and everything. So yeah, That's Bobby Green, aka King Green. And then on the other side, we got Mauricio Ruffy, who's got super clean striking. People say his cardio isn't that good, but I just kind of want to push back on that. Like in Dana White's Contender Series, when this guy fought 10-1 Dagestani named Raymond Magomedov, he out cardioed that guy and TKO'd him in the third round, like at the end of the third round. So this guy's cardio is not as bad as people say it is. I think he just kind of had a weird fight with a confusing camp because there was a lot of pullouts against James Lontop, and I just don't think like that's like a an indicator of this guy's game all around. And then also this guy's got super creative striking, super creative like takedowns. Against Jamie Malarkey, this guy was like in a flow state. Like he got him with like a rolling thunder. He was just doing crazy shit. And I think he's gonna kind of UFC 5 his way to victory in this fight. Just kind of like throw a bunch of crazy moves and catch Bobby Green pretty early on in the fight. Late round 1, early round 2 is what I think here. So yeah, Mauricio Ruffy is the pick, and I think he's gonna win easily and make Bobby Green look like a clown. All right, fight number 9, we got Amanda Lemos versus Yasmin Lucindo. This is kind of the piss break of the night, if you will. Um, and I don't think that's like saying that like this won't be. I'll get to it later, but Amanda Lemos is a super exciting fighter. Um, Very good striking, decent power. However, she is kind of getting older. I don't know if she's in her prime right now. And then the reason why I think this fight could be boring is because of Yasmin Lucindo. This lady's got no power, and she's not the most exciting fighter. She's pretty decent all around, but she's just not that great, and she's super young. She's only 23 years old, so she hasn't like developed that like muscle and power that like most good fighters you would expect to have. I don't know really exactly how to like verbalize that shit, but I think that Amanda Lemos is gonna take this just because I think she's better all around. And I know normally like the younger fighter tends to win in this type of fight, but I just think Lemos is gonna be too powerful, too experienced, too crafty for Yasmin Lucindo, and I just think she's gonna get the win here. However, I do want to mention I do think it would be better for the division if Yasmin Lucindo wins, just because strawweight kind of needs those like new upcoming prospects, which is what Yasmin Lucindo is. But I just don't think she's exciting enough, or like dangerous enough to really compete with the best of the best in this division, including Amanda Lemos. All right, for fight number 10, we got Jalen Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes. So leading up to this fight, I think Jalen Turner has been disrespected so badly. Like this guy is just so good, and I know he's on a bit of a loss streak, but he's super dangerous as a striker. He is a bit of a height merchant. These guys are both 6'3", which is super tall for the lightweight division. And they're kind of known for like being like the two biggest guys who kind of like have insane range and just can kind of like outreach most of their opponents. Um, yeah, his record hasn't been good. He's 1-3 in his past 4, but like that doesn't really show just how good this guy is. Like he arguably beat Gamrot. I don't know if he beat Hooker, but that was a super close fight. And then he should have knocked out Renato Moicano. So like that's he for all we know, he could be 4-0 if he had like slightly better fight IQ. And then on the other hand, we got Ignacio Bahamondes, who again is a height merchant. This guy's got super crisp striking, um, and he's got a nasty kick. I like highlighted that in my notes. This guy's got super good kicking, and he's got okay BJJ as well. Um, yeah, I noted down that he could win by wrestling, but I just don't really see that happening in this fight. I think this is going to be primarily a stand-up fight, and I just think Turner's more dangerous, and he's only really lost to the best of the best in this division recently, like Hooker, Gamrot, Moicano are all super good names, and he arguably could have beaten all three of them if either his fight IQ was better in the fight or the judges saw things differently. So yeah, I think Jalen Turner will win this fight, and I'm decently confident in it, especially seeing that he's an underdog. All right, fight number 11 is Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev. This fight's super sick. Yes, I'm a little bit disappointed that Dan Hooker had to pull out, but this is a pretty good concession prize, man. Like, this is a sick fight. Let's start with Justin Gaethje on the breakdowns. Justin Gaethje is a super dangerous striker. He's gotten a performance bonus in pretty much every single one of his UFC appearances. He's got underutilized wrestling as well in his game. He was like a college wrestler, but he's only shot one takedown in the UFC, and that was against Rafael Fiziev. Funnily enough, um, coming off of that 300 loss, I will say that his chin might be a little bit suspect in this fight. He might be kind of afraid to like kind of engage in the typical Gaethje battle. But I don't know. He says that he's not, so we might need to take his word. And then on the other side, we got Rafael Fiziev. This guy's probably got the best Muay Thai specifically at 155. Insane flexibility, really good striking, pretty good kicks. He does not have the best power in the division, but he's got decent enough power, especially because Gaethje's chin might be a little bit shot. However, this guy is coming off of an injury and a long layoff. He hasn't fought since like late 2023, I believe. So it has been a little bit while, but he has been training for the past 6 months. I thought he was gonna fight Gamrot on February 1st, so I think he was preparing for that. So he's like in a pretty good state physically, I would say. And I just think that he's gonna win the fight because he's been improving while Gaethje has kind of been declining a bit. And just because this fight was so close the first time, I think that like any slight shift in the balance will kind of tip the scales towards Fiziev and get him to win. I do think this is going to go to decision. I think that Gaethje's tough enough and like gritty enough to take this to a decision, but I just think that Rafael Fiziev is gonna win. And that brings us to our main event of the evening. So this is Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. I'm sure everyone knows who Alex Pereira is, but I'll just run through the quick breakdown. Amazing striking, elite power, elite leg kicks. His takedown defense is kind of unknown, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem here. And his chin is just so good at 205. The one thing that I do want to talk about is his camp has been kind of weird recently. Like he's been traveling around Australia. He corners Sean Strickland. He's been doing like a ton of like media appearances and shit. And it just doesn't seem like he's like as locked in as he used to be. But I don't know. He could, for all we know, just like kind of be training like underground and not like videoing all that shit. So I don't know if that's like as much of a concern as I see it is. And then on the other side, we got Magomed Ankalaev. Pretty good striking, pretty good wrestling. However, his chin is not that good. We saw in the Thiago Santos fight, he got dropped pretty bad, and that was like a 39-year-old Thiago Santos who's been washed since the John Jones fight and has lost every single fight since then, more dramatically. Additionally, this guy does not have the best fight IQ. We saw that in the Rakic fight, he didn't like try to finish him at all. We saw that in the first Johnny Walker fight where he kneed him when he was down. And similarly, he doesn't have the best finishing instinct either. Again, Rakic fight, we saw that. We saw that in the Jan Blachowicz fight. This guy doesn't have too many finishes, and the two he has recently is against Anthony Smith and Johnny Walker, who are both just not that good, especially like nowadays. So yeah, I think Pereira's gonna win here. I think he should be able to keep this on the feet. He should be able to hammer leg kicks and find a second or third round TKO in my opinion, especially if he has been training hard. If this guy's as locked in as he used to be, this should be a pretty easy win for Alex Pereira, in my opinion. And now on to the best bets for the week. We got Josh Van, minus 180, taking his money line. Same with Jordan Santos, also minus 180. And then for our final bet, we're taking a prop bet with Carlos Leal inside the distance at minus 150. I think all of those are pretty clear cut. I'm pretty confident in all of those. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I wish everyone who decides to bet the best of luck, and I hope this is a good card. I really hope Alex Pereira wins.